April 1945. American troops stumble upon the Merkers salt mine in central Germany. Inside, 30 miles of galleries. Nazi officers have stacked looted artwork alongside German museum collections evacuated from cities to protect them from Allied bombing. The volume is staggering. Then comes the real discovery. Interrogated Nazi officials, facing certain imprisonment, begin talking. They reveal the hiding places, the salt mines, the castles, the systematic documentation. On May 3, 1945, James Rorimer arrives at Neuschwanstein Castle with a small group of American troops. Inside, he finds jewelry looted from the Rothschilds, silver from the WWII collection, and rare manuscripts. More importantly, he discovers an entire ERR laboratory, file cabinets containing catalogs and photographic records of thousands of looted objects from France. Rorimer realizes he's found the Rosetta Stone of Nazi art theft, the master inventory. He takes an antique Rothschild seal engraved with Semper Fidelis, always faithful, and seals the archive room doors with wax and cord. These documents will become the nucleus for post-war restitution efforts. That same day, May 3, 1945, deep inside the Alta-See salt mine, the crisis reaches its breaking point. Gauleiter August Eigruber has ordered the mine destroyed. 8 500-kilogram explosives sit embedded in the mountain. But the local miners have been working in secret, removing the bombs. To deceive Eigruber, they blast the main entrances, making it appear the site was destroyed. The Gauleiter believes his scorched earth order succeeded. Inside the mountain, Europe's greatest art treasures remain intact in the cool darkness. 18 days later, on May 21, 1945, George Stout arrives at Alta-See. He enters the mountain and begins cataloging what the miners saved. The inventory is staggering. 6,577 paintings, 2,300 drawings or watercolors, 954 prints, 137 pieces of sculpture, 129 pieces of arms and armor, 79 baskets of objects, 484 cases of archives, 78 pieces of furniture, 122 tapestries, 1,200 to 1,700 cases of books, and 283 cases of unknown contents. Total value, $3.5 billion. Among the masterpieces, Michelangelo's Madonna and Child sculpture, intended for Hitler's Führermuseum, Jan van Eyck's The Adoration of the Lamb altarpiece, a jewel of medieval Flemish art. Stout's team has found the mother lode, and that's when the real battle begins. The collection point at Wiesbaden, Germany, becomes the flashpoint. By November 1945, the monument's men have established several collecting points, secure facilities where recovered art is cataloged, authenticated, and prepared for restitution. Wiesbaden holds some of the most valuable pieces. The workflow is methodical. Nazi records cross-referenced with pre-war museum inventories, provenance verified, rightful owners identified. Then a directive arrives from Washington that stops everyone cold. The order comes from the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. They want 202 of the most valuable paintings being held at Wiesbaden shipped to America, purportedly for safekeeping. The subtext is obvious. With Europe in ruins, American officials argue the art will be safer in the United States. Besides, America won the war. Doesn't that earn certain privileges? The room erupts. George Stout stands in the Wiesbaden facility, reading the directive, and realizes everything they've fought for is about to be destroyed. Not by Nazi bombs, by American bureaucrats who view looted art as spoils of war. The monument's men immediately understand the implications. If the United States ships masterpieces to Washington, every Allied nation will claim the same right. The Soviets are already looting art from occupied territories in Eastern Europe. If America, the nation claiming moral authority, violates restitution principles, the entire post-war recovery system collapses. Stout and his colleagues draft a response. Not a polite memo, a manifesto. The Wiesbaden Manifesto is signed by multiple monuments officers. It states unequivocally that removing art from Europe to America, regardless of stated intentions, constitutes looting no different from what the Nazis did. The comparison is deliberately provocative. The signatories know they're risking their careers. The confrontation escalates to the highest levels. Senior army officials pressure the monument's men to back down. Museum directors in the United States argue that war-torn Europe cannot adequately protect the art. What if another conflict breaks out? What if communist governments seize the collections? Fellow monuments man Captain Walker Hancock recalls the intense debates. Art historians from prestigious institutions fly to Germany to inspect the facilities, implying that Stout's team lacks the sophistication to make such decisions. The experts, credentialed academics with endowed chairs, dismiss the objections of field officers covered in dust from working inside salt mines. That is impossible, they say. You cannot compare American protective custody to Nazi theft. But Stout has something the critics don't: documentation. He's kept meticulous records, every artwork cataloged, every piece of Nazi documentation preserved. The paper trail proves beyond doubt that the Führer's art collection was assembled through systematic theft, and that returning it to its rightful owners is both legally and morally imperative. The turning point comes when the monument's men find an unlikely ally: General Dwight D. Eisenhower. The Supreme Commander reviews the case and sides with Stout. Eisenhower recognizes that how America handles Nazi-looted art will define post-war international relations. Stealing art, even under the guise of safekeeping, would undermine America's credibility. The Washington Directive is rescinded. The art stays in Europe for proper restitution. If the story of fighting bureaucracy to do what's right resonates with you, you're going to love our deep dive into the soldier who refused a direct order and saved 75 men at Hacksaw Ridge. Click the link in the description, and don't forget to subscribe. We're revealing untold stories of maverick heroes every week. The victory at Wiesbaden establishes the template. The monument's men transform from art rescuers into art detectives. They spend the next 6 years tracking down looted objects, matching them to rightful owners, navigating claims from multiple governments. George Stout is appointed deputy commander of the MFAA. His organizational system, the cataloging protocols, the restitution procedures, the chain of custody documentation, becomes the international standard. But the victory came at a cost not everyone survived to see. The monument's men aren't desk officers. They operate in active combat zones. On March 10, 1945, Major Ronald Balfour is in Cleves, Germany, a city being torn apart by Allied and German artillery. The British Cambridge historian has just convinced Canadian commanders not to demolish the 14th century Steintor city gate at nearby Gotch during their assault. It's a small victory, preserving a medieval gate while armies fight house to house around it. Balfour receives intelligence that a church beyond Allied lines contains pieces of a medieval altarpiece that will be destroyed if the structure takes more shelling. He ventures beyond the front lines with 2 German civilians who know the location. They're moving the altarpiece components when a German shell burst hits their position. Ronald Balfour is killed instantly. He's 41 years old. Less than a month later, on April 2, 1945, Captain Walter Huchthausen, an American architect from Oklahoma assigned to the MFAA, is near Aachen, Germany. He's on a mission to recover a stolen art piece when his position comes under fire. Huchthausen is shot and killed immediately. His slumping body shields another monument's officer, Sheldon Keck, saving Keck's life. Huchthausen dies less than 1 month before Germany's unconditional surrender. 2 men, out of the approximately 345 monuments men and women who served, killed in action. The statistics reveal how close they operated to combat. Both deaths occurred during active artillery exchanges in contested cities, while performing their mission to protect cultural heritage. Private First Class Lincoln Kirstein, a monuments man present during the Altasee recovery, later writes about seeing the Van Eyck altarpiece inside the salt mine. The miraculous jewels of the crowned Virgin seem to attract the light from our flickering acetylene lamps. Calm and beautiful, the altarpiece was quite simply there. They saved it. Balfour and Huchthausen didn't live to see it returned to its rightful home, but they saved it. Working as art detectives from 1945 to 1951, a core group of about 60 monuments men continues scouring Europe. They track down more than 1,000 repositories containing the 5 million recovered items. Each object requires authentication, provenance research, and navigation of competing claims from governments, museums, religious institutions, and individual families. According to 12th Army Group records, art treasures of incalculable value were secured and preserved due to his energetic and resourceful action. By 1951, they have located and returned more than 5 million stolen items. 5 million. The operation becomes the greatest art rescue in human history. A veteran of the recovery operations later approaches George Stout at a post-war reunion. The man fought with units that liberated concentration camps. He saw firsthand what the Nazis did to the families whose art was stolen. He looks at Stout and says simply, "Because of you, their memory survived." The courage to stand against your own side when they're wrong. That's the theme of our most popular video about the general who defied orders to prevent a massacre. It has 4.3 million views, and it's linked in the card above. Hit that like button if you enjoyed George Stout's story, and let us know in the comments which World War II hero we should cover next. George Stout returns to the United States in mid-1946. No ticker tape parade. No press conferences. He resumes his position at Harvard's Fogg Museum as if he'd been on sabbatical rather than saving Western civilization's art heritage. For his service, the Army awards him the Bronze Star and the Army Commendation Medal. He accepts them quietly. In 1947, Stout becomes director of the Worcester Art Museum in Worcester, Massachusetts. 8 years later, he moves to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum as director, serving until his retirement in 1970. He's a member of the American Antiquarian Society, the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and the American Institute for Conservation of Historic and Artistic Works. He rarely discusses his wartime service. When reporters occasionally track him down for interviews about the monument's men, Stout deflects credit to his colleagues. He emphasizes Walker Hancock's field operations, James Rorimer's discovery of the ERR archives, the two men killed in action, Ronald Balfour and Walter Huchthausen. He frames his own role as simply applying conservation techniques in unusual circumstances. George Leslie Stout dies on July 1, 1978. He's 80 years old. The obituaries describe him as a museum director and art conservation pioneer. Most don't mention autopsy, but his legacy endures in ways he never sought recognition for. The MFAA's protocols become the foundation for UNESCO's 1954 Hague Convention for the protection of cultural property in the event of armed conflict. Modern militaries train cultural property protection specialists who deploy to conflict zones. When the United States invaded Iraq in 2003 and looters ransacked the Baghdad Museum, it was Monuments Men alumni and their successors who advised on recovery operations. The restitution work continues today. 77 years after the war ended, researchers still use the ERR archives that James Rorimer sealed at Neuschwanstein to trace provenance of artworks that surface in museums and private collections. The 5 million items recovered represent irreplaceable human cultural heritage. The masterpieces Hitler intended for his Führer Museum now hang in their rightful museums. The Van Eyck altarpiece restored to its church. George Stout never called himself a hero. He considered himself a conservator who happened to work in unusual conditions. But the miners at Altassi who risked execution to save Michelangelo's Madonna understood what he was. The families who recovered stolen heirlooms understood. The millions of museum visitors who see masterpieces that almost vanished forever, they understand, even if they don't know his name. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who refuse to be called heroes. They just do the work.